Hi, and welcome once again to TLC, Transforming Lives Continually. I'm Michael Stewart, and we're happy to be with you again. On this program, we try to educate you and to develop people, and that's why we transform lives, and we try to do that continually. Today's guest is Dr. Sharon Brown. Dr. Sharon Brown has been doing some research as to the absent fathers in Tobago and how that impacts on family. And she has a very interesting research results that I think that all of you listening should be able to hear. Welcome to the program, Dr. Brown.
Thank you very much.
Good, good. So tell us when the program started, this research started, what initiated, what caused you to go in this direction?
Well, at the time that I started, I was a teacher at USC, University of Southern Caribbean, and I saw that there was some information missing. And it was a lot of information on women as to how they felt about absent fathers from the home, grandparents, whatnot, but not fathers. We didn't know how fathers felt. So I figured this would be a good opportunity to be able to ask the fathers, go straight to the fathers and find out how they felt about absent fathers from the home and its effect on young males, both academically and socially.
Yes, yes. And when did this start?
Wow, I started this about 2013.
Okay.
I started looking into it, and 14, 15 doing the research, actually doing the research.
And what your research revealed?
Well, it revealed, not according to what it says in the books, it reveals that fathers are very concerned about their sons, and they know the impact that they have on their sons. Many of the fathers felt that if they weren't in the homes, their sons would not be able to be what they needed to be in life, to give back to society, to be more responsible. Fathers knew that their sons needed them.
Right, yes. So in the absence of fathers, what are the likely outcomes from the home and the family?
Well, according to research, it shows that when the fathers are not in the homes, sons tend to deviate more towards violence or the wrong crowd. They tend to be very irresponsible, not thinking they need to go on for higher education.
Right.
Where there's a father, sons tend to be more responsible.
Right. And so those are some of the symptoms that we are seeing in society of the violence and the lack of initiative and wanting to progress to something and become industrious. How are we going to address that?
Well, we've started it with the study. It was 10 fathers that were asked how they felt about this situation. And the fathers shared a lot of information, personal experiences. And they shared that as fathers are stepping up and being more responsible, checking on their sons, making sure they're doing what they need to do academically, keeping up their GPA, rewarding them, spending more time with them, that they could be able to overcome this and to help their sons in the right direction.
Oh, okay. All right. But the challenge now is how do we get fathers to do that?
Well, the fathers even suggested it, that we have more workshops, that we have conferences, also weekend retreats for fathers and sons. That was fathers said they would love that, but they don't know where to turn. And they said we need more education. Can we have more programs? So the fathers are asking us to put out more programs for them and to see that they get the interventions they need to be better fathers.
Right, yes. And you know, on last week's program, well, we spoke about that, and that is just purely coincidental, that having been appointed Caribbean Coordinator for International Men's Day, one of the initiatives that I'm thinking about bringing on is this whole aspect of bringing men together in conference and workshop and feedback and providing a support group through the B Men group that I founded. And we found that in those groups, men open up because they don't have the issue of women around to correct them as to, you have no right to say this, or that is not an appreciated position, and so on. So that has already started, and so what we have to do now is to now heighten the awareness of men to take up their roles in their family.
Definitely.
What does the role of a woman play in probably causing men to be absent?
Well, from this study, I learned that it could be infidelity a lot of times, maybe separation is a big one.
Infidelity on the man's part?
Yes.
Right.
separation. Sometimes it's due to the man having to work overseas to make more money.
Right.
So we're talking about jobs here.
Mm-hmm.
Divorce is another area. The men said if we're divorced and the woman wants to take over, she wants the son, she gets the rights, the courts give her the right,
Yes.
and then the father's just kind of put in the background,
Yeah.
and he feels left out, he feels invisible, many of the men shared with me. And they wanted to let the women know that they are there for their son, they care for him,
Yes.
and they want to be there for support. So we have to listen and include the men more.
Yes, yes. The attitude of women towards men, did that come up at all?
Yes, it did.
Uh-huh.
Many of the women were seeing their men as not able to provide, no good, saying very negative things to their sons. And that affected the relationship between father and son, because where it was open before and there was open communication, the son tends to close up, get depressed, not do as well in school. And it's just fighting against the current, where the father wants to be in the positive limelight, not the negative limelight.
Yes, yes, yes. You know, and that is so interesting. And I wanted to also go to the point of, you know, men always complain that women nag.
Yes.
Yes, they don't call it nagging, but we call it nagging. Did any of your men identify this as a particular aspect?
Yes, they did. And they helped me to understand and to clarify what they mean by nagging. When you share with a man something that you'd like for him to do, but you say it once and you say it again and you say it again and you say it again, in your nonverbal communication you're giving that same message, it's too much.
Okay.
If you say it once and you encourage him and focus on the positive, then inadvertently the man says, I will just do it because you're appreciating what I'm doing, so I'll do more and I'll do more. But when you come with that negative, it causes a breakdown in the communication and the man shuts down.
Yes, yes. And even from my own counseling with couples, one of the things that I recognize is that you'll have a woman attempting to play the mother role with the big stick. So I would have a man and a woman in discussion, and she'll be complaining, Mr. Short, he says nothing, he doesn't communicate, he doesn't know how to communicate, and so on, and that drives me up the wall, and she'll go on, and he's just be sitting there listening.
Right.
When I separate both of them, and I speak with the man alone, he flows.
Yeah.
So when I say, well, listen, why not share this in the group session when we get together? So we bring them back together, and he begins to share. As soon as he says something she does not agree with, she jumps in and cuts him across. Now, he allowed her to speak all the time, and he never interrupted her. But now every time he says something that might be inaccurate about the day, let's say he says on Monday he did so and so, and then she will now need to correct that. It wasn't Monday, it was Tuesday, which wasn't of any substance to the discussion. The day itself was not any substance because he was mounting to a point. So now the argument goes off to the day, and then he shuts down. Because he's not getting a chance to bring his point. And so many times you'll see that pointing of saying, listen, I tell him, and he doesn't. So you find that motherly, instructional way. And that sometimes, if from my own experience, shuts down. I haven't done the research on it.
Yes.
But all consistently, the man goes back into his shell in such a session.
That's right.
Well, how are we going to help? No, that has to be something that has to be dealt from the woman's standpoint.
That's right, and we can have workshops for women with the communication, understanding how a man conceives communication. It's different than a woman.
Yes.
Because that motherly figure, that nurturing that comes out, the woman comes naturally.
Yes.
But if she gives a man the opportunity to express his side and just listen by saying, okay,
Yes.
I hear what you're saying. Okay, so can you say some more? You'd be surprised what you would hear.
Yes.
In the studies, so the men just kept going on and on
That's
and
right.
on, and I just listened and listened for hours, and I was surprised they had so much to share.
Yes, yes.
So
yes.
I think that we could have more workshops for the women
Yes,
and work
yes.
on those skills.
Yes, yes, yes. Because when guys get together, even if we disagree on a point, we will call the person an idiot.
Right.
But it does not come across with an emotion that an idiot, and it doesn't shut him down.
Right.
But when a woman comes in and she says it with a kind of emotion that makes a man feel it deep down and tell himself, I'm cutting out of
That's
this.
right.
Yeah, and so we really have to now help the women to be able to know how to work along
That's right.
with the men. What else did you find out in your research?
Oh, we found out a lot of things. We asked the men that what did they feel was their responsibility even if they weren't in the home, because in many of the homes we have stepfathers coming in. So the father said, well, it's still my responsibility. he is my blood. No one can help him like I can. And this was the theme that we got from the fathers. They felt that that's my blood. Nobody can take care of him or teach him the skills that he needs like I can.
Okay.
And that was amazing because the books don't share those type of feelings that the fathers have, that passionate feeling that he's my son. I need to be responsible for him financially and otherwise.
Okay, okay. So men actually want to take care of their children.
They want that opportunity.
So where do we get this impression that men don't?
I don't know. I don't know because especially the black fathers are seen so negative. And we've seen them with the highest percentage of having sons that are not in their homes out of all the other races. So I'm like, is it true? And I wanted to be able to interview them one-on-one to hear it for myself. But the fathers want their women to support them, even if they're not getting along.
Yes.
Let's do what we can for our son so we can bring him up to make a difference in the world.
I just spoke there, you know, it reminded me of this situation that I had where a gentleman called me and he was saying that he has a 3-year-old boy and he loves the boy, but the relationship between him and the mother have broken down, but the woman does not want him to have contact with the boy, but he says he has grown to love the boy so much, but he wants to. And so we had a discussion and we had a number of meetings and so on. So they allowed the visiting and they started to now talk as man and woman after that. But then in order to take the boy, particularly on a trip or something, so he needed to prove paternity. There was some reason he had to prove paternity and found out that the boy is not his.
Wow.
You see? But you know what was amazing? The guy told me, it's too late, I love the boy. And he said, I want to still maintain him, I want to still contribute, and I still want him to call me dad.
That's good.
Yeah? So it really shows that a lot of men still want to be there in the lives of their children.
That's right.
Because they want that bonding.
They want the
and I respected that highly in the man. The lady was quite ashamed because she did not even realize he was not the father. You see?
Right.
And the reason they had broken up was because she accused him of being unfaithful. And now finding out that the boy that they both thought was dead wasn't even there. So she herself was being just as guilty.
Wow.
Yeah? So, you know, and you see the relationship issue is such a painful one.
Yeah.
When it does not go well.
Yeah.
You see, and so that's why we really have to work more on our relationship building.
Yeah, and children suffer the most.
Oh, yes.
Because they repeat this cycle. When they grow up, they repeat whatever they see. And we're seeing a generational, we can call it generational curse if you'd like, that just keeps going on and on because of a lack of education.
Yes, yes. Yeah. You know, we have to ask ourselves, if we continue at this rate that we're doing, because we have fractured the family, I believe there's a structure that God has set up for the family, where God is the head, man accounts to God, the woman accounts to the man, and the children account to the parent. It is not the accepted modern day method, but it is a method that I believe works and that God has set up. So when I remember visiting Aruba one day, and I went in there and the house was loaded with children, all of them around the same age. And I asked, whose child is this? Oh, that's mom's child. And whose child is this? That's my sister's. And whose one is this? This is mine. All of them in the house at the same time making children.
Wow.
And I'm saying that so something must be wrong with that.
Yeah.
There is going to be a breakdown for respect, and there is a personality that comes out based on your birth order. And if you breach that birth order, you have some confusion that will take place. If I'm the firstborn and I'm married, I'm married and I have a firstborn. That firstborn develops a personality of being in charge of the younger one.
Right.
Mommy said not to do this, and the parents reinforce it by saying, listen to your older brother. But then I divorced my wife, and I married somebody else who has an older child.
Wow, yeah.
And that older child now attempts to now take the firstborn, when my child has the firstborn personality of being in charge. We must have a clash inside of that new family.
Oh, yeah.
And so that's why the fracturing of the families happen to contribute to some of the breakdown in society that we're experiencing. Yeah?
I can share a similar experience as you were talking came to mind, where I was working with this particular mother who had 6 children, and they were all from different daddies.
Wow.
And then when I came in there to do an assessment, the mother just sat there and she was just sucking her finger. grown woman. But they all had different fathers. And in the time that I was there doing the assessment, I saw one daddy come in. He wants to see his son. He had a gift for him. And another one came in. He wanted to see his child. And another one. And all of these personalities are coming together. That is why they were in counseling, because there's so much fighting, aggression. And this one is, the daddy's from the island. This one is an American. And they're just all different personalities coming together. That's what we're seeing.
And you know what, as you said that, here's what men feel.
Okay.
When a man has 6 children for 6 different women, they call him a deadbeat dad. A woman has 6 children for 6 different men, and they say, poor her. Look at how these men have abandoned her.
Exactly.
And I'm saying, where was her role in this?
It's,
you understand?
Her decision making.
Exactly, because she must have contributed to this. If you recognize this happened the first time, the second time, and so on, there must be some point that you could bring a stop to it.
Yeah.
So, just as men need to take responsibility for the issues and for their delinquency, women need to learn to take with their own responsibility and stop shifting the blame, the 100% of the blame over to men. And at the same time, I don't want to advocate for men not taking responsibility. That has nothing to do with that. We must take our responsibility. But we must also recognize that a woman has certain control. In fact, this is my belief. A man could only pursue a woman. He can only woo her, endear himself to her. He never makes the decision as to whether the relationship takes place.
Okay.
Yeah?
That's very good.
Only the woman makes that decision.
Makes that final decision.
So whenever she goes with 6 different men, she selected 6 different men. He never did. He was just doing the strategizing.
Right.
And she made all 6 decisions. So she must take some responsibility for those 6 relationships.
I agree,
You see? And so I firmly believe that. Yeah. So where are we going to go with now all of this thing, with now that we understood the men, the women, and the breakdown, the children who are suffering in it? The old people had a saying, when elephants fight, grass does feel it. Have you ever heard that?
No, I haven't.
Right. It is done in the parlance that says, when elephant are fight, a grass a feeler.
Okay.
Right. But I give it in English so that you will be able to understand
Right.
it. Because the elephants are fighting. The grass has nothing to do with the fight of the elephants.
Exactly.
But they are the ones who are destroyed in the process.
That's right.
And when father and mother fighting, the children that had nothing to do with the fight
affected by it. It's true.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So well, I want to say that we've started some initial talks with Dr. Brown to have a conference coming up. You'll hear more about it. We've got to flesh it out. We've got to get some details onto it. And we'll be bringing men and women together. And at some point, we may probably separate them in the session and deal with men, deal with women, and bring them back together, and so that we could now chart a way forward. And so we want you to look forward to that as the time goes on. You are listening to TLC, Transforming Lives Continually. I'm Michael Stewart, and in studio with me is Dr. Sharon Brown. She did a study that showed the absent fathers and how it's affecting families and homes and the children themselves. And so that's what the discussion has been on. And we want you to go to her website. It's a website, you could Google it.
Yes, Google the study and examination into the perception of Tobagonian fathers on the impact of fatherhood in the lives of sons to achieve academically and socially.
Good. All right. Wonderful. And they could go to the library and get it.
Yes. I'm going to have a copy put in the Scarborough Library.
All right.
And you can go there and read it in the on the 3rd floor.
All right.
Reference section.
Okay. So how do boys feel in the process? We spoke about the fathers and the absence and so on, and there must be some impact themselves on the boys. You said violence, and you said the lack of taking an industrious angle to life. Is there any other way that the boy, does it affect his self-esteem?
Self-esteem, academically, we're seeing in higher education. We see about, I would say, maybe 2 males per 15 young ladies in college here in Tobago.
2 males?
That's 2 males, let's say 10 to 15 young women. There's a balance. The young men are not going for higher education. And many of these young men are coming from homes where there is no father.
Wow.
So for the future, we are facing a serious problem. Because if they're not getting educated, then they're not getting jobs.
Yeah.
And then we're seeing an increase in delinquency.
Yes.
Because they have to eat, they have to work, they have to do something to survive.
Yeah.
Well, where are they turning to? And this is where we need to continue to look to see which direction are we leading.
Wow. You know, a senior policeman told me that he is recruiting police for the service. And he had, I think, 3,000 names. He had already crossed 1,500, approaching 2,000. And he said, so far, all are women.
Yeah, we have
So
to face
when
it.
we have to run down bandits and the women have to protect us,
Yes,
then we have a serious crisis.
we're in trouble.
Wow.
We're
You know?
in trouble.
Yeah. See, men, we've got lots of work to do.
Yes.
Lots of work to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're not striving academically. And then again, I think the education system needs to be revisited.
Okay.
That's my personal view. Because it is unnatural. This is my perception. It is unnatural for a man, to take instructions from a woman.
Okay.
Not impossible, and it is not unethical, but it is unnatural. This is a learned behavior. So you'll have a 5-year-old child who mommy is his idol. But as he grows and testosterone begins to pump in that boy, the person he opposes and challenges as far as authority figure happens to be the same loving mother that he had. As soon as he hits teenager.
Right.
And the mothers would say, you know, you are such a nice child, I don't know what get into him, and so on. He's beginning to reject the instructions and the rantings and the ruling
Yes.
of the mother. So you end up now that in schools, most of the teachers
are women.
are
Yes,
women.
That's right.
So I visited a school. I do motivational speaking, and Jamaica invited me to come and talk to their school because they're having such a challenge there. So I went into this school, and I told myself, let me see if I could figure out. And I told myself, there's a high chance when I visit that school is going to have a preponderance of women. The only teacher there that was a male was the principal, and they said the principal is hardly on the compound.
Okay.
So you have 99% of your teaching fraternity women. So obviously you have a challenge there. The second thing that I feel that we have in the education system sometimes, not for all them, the dress code of the women.
Okay.
When you have boys who are meta-adolescents, and the short skirts and the clothes that showing on the way and the upper torso being exposed and so on, does not help a visual child who is beginning to come to a certain sense of sexuality.
Yeah.
And he has to stay at that for 1 hour. You understand? Okay. And that is also affected in my views. And I'm using it also from my own experience growing up. We had a Spanish teacher. She used to come in short skirts and her legs, she works out, she had very great legs. And I went to her Spanish class. Ask me anything in Spanish now. I don't know. You understand? We as boys sat there and watched her walk up and down in class in high heels and so on. But it was a distraction.
Okay.
She was a beautiful woman, yes. But she let her beauty be the distraction. And all she needed to do was just wear a different set of clothing for it. And so the school system has to look at that. And then boys aren't into lectures.
Okay.
We are into doing stuff.
Hands-on.
Yes.
Tactical, yeah.
Yeah, and that's what bonds us together as boys. If you get a cardboard box and you burst it open and both of us come down a slope together with no brakes, the guy that joins us in that is our partner. He's a pal. You see, because why? He did something risky with us.
Right.
But when you have to lecture to us, that's a woman's way of communicating. They talk. Yeah, they have 7,000 words in an average day to share. A man doesn't have the number of words that a woman has. I go out with my son and we will enjoy a good time and do say a word. We'll drive from here to the country and don't say a word. Two guys will go to the bar, drink, and don't say nothing. You see, the most they'll say is, you want the next one? You see? Or they'll say, well, boy, tomorrow, same time.
That's a good point.
You see?
Yeah.
So when you get with a woman has to talk. When I go to fish with my wife, she has to ask all these questions. You think there are fish down there? I don't know. So we fishing for more than an hour. We ain't catch anything. Why we staying here? We didn't come to fish.
Right.
It was the experience.
Yeah.
So we go home without catching anything as guys? It's no deal.
Right, right.
But not for a woman. She needs you to catch fish. You see? So it is the different interactions that has to be looked at also in that. And so I'm hoping that this workshop would help us to be able to unfold all of that.
It should.
Yep. Because from our standpoint, we could say how women impact us. And from the women's standpoint, they could say, this is how you guys impact us.
That's a good
I'm looking forward to it.
Me too.
Yes.
Me too.
All right. So as we wrap up, we just have a couple more minutes to wrap up. I want you to just share with us anything that you want, or anything that you want to call upon.
Okay.
Yep.
I wanted to share that with men. If you knew that you could make a difference, that inside of you have the power to change your son's life, not only for now, but forever, for eternity, actually generational, because if he has sons, he could do the same thing. Wouldn't you put your all into it?
Yeah.
Wouldn't you give it everything you've got? And then for women, if you knew that your husband had the power to make your son a great man, wouldn't you support him with everything that you had so that he could make the change and the two of you can be successful in what you're trying to do together? I just hope that we can see, that everyone will see what we're trying to share with them, that we need to come together and stop fighting against each other and work together. That's all the men were sharing in the study, that they want in their hearts to see great things done. We just need to put aside our differences, humble ourselves, and work together for that change.
Thank you so much. There you have it. Dr. Sharon Brown, she did a research on absent fathers in the home, and I'm Michael Stewart. And we're saying this is not a competition of the sexes, this is a complementing of the sexes.
Yes.
See you next time.